And welcome back with DM Daryl Megan, Life Embodiment Coach at the Healer's Nest. So just a comment on today's feelings and thoughts, and maybe this will resonate for some of you, especially those parents out there. Sometimes it can be really difficult when you have difficulties with behaviors with your kids, or even like keeping up with chores in the house. I think about like this recent incident where one of my kids ate some food that belonged to a guest and not to them. And we kind of had to talk about like boundaries with people's personal things. You know, if it doesn't belong to you, you should put that back. And it's kind of like a recurring behavior. Just taking things that have been said like, hey, these things are important. But also like chores that forget to get done. And it's like, oh man, I'm so busy. I forgot as a parent to check in with my kid on doing X, Y, Z. And oftentimes like our behaviors and our kids' behaviors, they can say a lot about us, but at the same time, we have to be careful to draw that line. You know, what belongs to me and what belongs to my kids, or what belongs to me and what belongs to my coworker. What is mine to hold and be accountable for? And how do I draw the boundary with the people in my life about things that they should be accountable for? And we have to be careful what kind of meaning we assign, not only to ourselves. For example, as a parent, you can have parent guilt about, oh, they're having this really difficult behavior, that's my fault, or the fault of the circumstances. Yes, true. That has something to do with it. And there are ways that we can be proactive or reactive to those things. And also simply respond to those things with what we think is the appropriate boundary to put in place or response to have. But it doesn't have to mean that you as the parent are bad. It doesn't have to mean that you as a human are bad or lazy or not enough or too forgetful or whatever. Because when we start to make negative meaning out of the things that happen with our life, we're kind of sort of placing guilt and shame on things that may not require that. As a matter of fact, if we're trying to make things run more smoothly in our life, carrying shame about the things that are going on within us or around us, it doesn't actually help transform or transcend that problem. It creates a secondary problem, or maybe even more importantly, it is an underlying issue that we have to sort out in ourselves, and the external circumstances don't have to mean anything about you. That includes trauma. So we take this and we move it into the larger scheme. If you are in a toxic relationship and you're trying to take accountability for where you may have gone wrong, it doesn't excuse the other person. It also doesn't make you a bad person, because you might be in a relationship or in a situation where, yeah, you might have a choice to do something different. Maybe you don't know how to do that right now. It doesn't mean that you should feel shame about where you are. And if you're trying to make a change from a place of shame, it's going to be awfully hard to transcend that. So making room and space in the body through rituals and practices to accept where you are, even in all of those things that we might see as flaws, or the story we might tell ourselves. I think it might have been Brene Brown. She speaks a lot on vulnerability, and one of the things she says when she has conversations with her husband, she's having tough emotions about something she's dealing with. The story I'm telling myself about this situation or your response is this. And I think that's important, to separate the reality of the situation from the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves or others from the situation, so that we can look at things objectively and feel into things completely and let our bodies give us wisdom on, or share with us the wisdom it already has on these things. So if you're struggling with something and you're really beating yourself up for it, carrying some guilt, or even worse, shame, guilt being I did something wrong, shame being I am wrong, this kind of work is for you. And I help people overcome the barriers like guilt and shame in radically accepting themselves and embodying the being, the feeling that they want to have in their lives so they can build it by design, as well as providing you with the tools to move forward in that. So yeah, this is DM, Life Embodiment Coach. Those are my thoughts on this busy Monday. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and we'll check you next time.